So normally this is the part where we do like a little banter, make some jokes, and hop into the episode. But this episode is a little different.
Three women talking about politics?
If democracy had a group chat, this would be it. Welcome to Organizing Chaos with Roots to Results, where we unpack the chaos that is politics and give you the tools you need to do something about it. I'm Meg Simons, Creative Director at Roots to Results, and I'm here with my amazing co-founders, organizers, and all-around political badasses, Laura Miranda Brown.
Hey!
And Sarah Virgo.
Hi.
Today we'll be speaking with Paola Pazmiño from Resistencia en Acción, a grassroots migrant justice organization working to educate, empower, and organize migrant communities to defend and protect human and civil rights. Their mission is to defend the migrant community criminalized by police, ICE, exploitative employers, racial profiling, and the detention and deportation system. Thank you so much for joining us, Anna.
Thank you for having me.
I want to kind of set the stage for what we're doing here today. So unless you've been living on the moon, you've probably heard about what's happening in Minnesota. ISIS murdered 2 people on camera in January alone, and their deaths have galvanized people not just in Minnesota, but across the country. This appears to be a watershed moment. While the violence ISIS is inflicting in Minnesota is not new, many people, mostly white people, are reckoning with it for the first time and realizing that their whiteness is no longer enough to save them. And there's a lot to unpack here. Frankly, it's bullshit that it's taken this long for people to wake up. And I'm tired of listening to people who should very well know better pretend like this moment is somehow unprecedented. But right now, what matters the most is keeping our communities safe. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Would you like to take a minute to introduce yourself and tell us about you and your organization?
My name is Paola Pazmiño, and I'm the executive director of Resistencia en Acción, who has long been fighting for injustices in the immigrant community since 2009. And recently, we started obviously having an aggressive attack on all of the immigrant communities, not just the Latinos, but also the Haitian community, the Asian community, the African community. And I'm here as an organizer, as a director, as a member of the community who many years ago was undocumented for many years, but I still live because we have close family, friends, neighbors who might still be undocumented. So we have to live the fight for these people.
You know, the three of us do a lot of work on the internet, on social media, etc. But if there's one thing I know about what we're seeing on the internet, it's that we're not seeing the whole picture. So I want to ask you, as someone who's deeply involved in this work, what's the most important thing for people to understand that we're probably not seeing right now? What aren't we seeing in the news coverage and on social media that we should be?
Actually, I think social media has played a big role in getting the news out there. Because of that, I feel like the government can't lie to us anymore, right? Because we're so obviously putting it on there. But there are things on there that we're not seeing, like the day-to-day ICE activity that we see on our rapid response teams. Part of the initiative in 2025 to protect our community was to create a rapid response team that would alert the community when ICE was in our neighborhoods. And so we started to train folks that wanted to confront ICE, document ICE in all the legal ways possible, but also to begin to alert the community through chats, through whistles, through honking the horns, the alarms of the cars. So there's a lot of tactics that we've been using. However, it's not enough because it's so aggressive right now. ICE is even in the literally train stations Jersey City yesterday got hit very hard. People parking their bikes to get on the train. It was sad. It's sad to see those videos. Every day we have mothers, fathers calling us saying, my wife or my husband got picked up. I don't know what to do. And then we have other people calling us to say, well, I don't know if today I should go to work or I should stay home because I'm not sure if ICE is around and I'll be detained, so I'd rather not work. So we're seeing all of these, irrational decisions that we have to make because of ICE activity. Those are heartbreaking things that one doesn't see all the time on social media or on the news. This is an abuse of power. And I'm sure that you all have seen the different types of abuses of power right now to our Constitution. But this one is, I believe, is the toughest one because it affects people deeply. Watching those interviews of women and their spouses, like just ripped apart for walking to the grocery store or going to the laundromat, it really does, rip us of our humanity.
Yeah. And I want to thank you for mentioning all of those kind of like unspoken things that are happening right now with that collective trauma that so many communities are experiencing with having to decide between going to work and going to school and trying to just every day make those decisions that are so critical and shouldn't be decisions that anyone has to face. And so I thank you for mentioning that. And I think there's a lot being talked about on the news and a lot that probably isn't being spoken about in the news. And lots of folks really feel compelled to help and show up to help others, especially right now. From your perspective, what does that solidarity look like? Like people who are not perhaps directly impacted but want to show up and help, how would you like to see them supporting their communities, or what does that look like in your perspective, in your work in the field and in organizing?
I think that this has allowed us to be more human and build on that solidarity that we always talked about. So when we say, we get donations of food, we get donations of clothes, we get donations in monetary donations, we say it's not just charity, it's solidarity, because what we're doing is we're perhaps giving to one this time, but we know that later we're going to have to give to another family, or we're going to have to give back to that person who might be affected some way or another. And the amount of support that we have gotten is huge. We have, for example, filled an emergency rapid response Zephy account, right, which is sort of like a GoFundMe, and we have really reached our goal in about 7 months last year. So we started a new one this year, but that not only goes to the families and the community support, that also helps the rapid response teams be more strong in their tactics, right? We need a lot of supplies and materials. Those megaphones are very costly. It's like at least $60 to $100 for each megaphone. And we have trained about 120 rapid responders who are not vulnerable to ICE. So that means we don't put anybody at risk. We've seen the outpour of food donations. Right now, what we're going to start to do is in this coming week or so, we're going to start a justice bus tour. This justice bus tour is going to go to families directly affected if we know that their loved one has been detained or deported. But it's also going to serve as rides in the morning for some of the workers and some of the families who need to get their children to school. So the support has been great, and we look forward to continuing the food drives, the donations in monetary funds, and also trying to find defense work that will help us.
So friends in Minnesota have said that people in their community who have American citizenship and have some level of privilege have gone above and beyond in their efforts, her words, not mine, to ensure that families who can't leave the house because it's not safe for them are still getting diapers, formula, food. I guess my question really is, for those people who are personally impacted, who are stuck at home, how can people who want to help and maybe don't speak Spanish and maybe don't know where to go, how can they help you most?
Like we've talked about this, how does this look like when people are just individually volunteering, right? And so that's why I think it comes back to the organizing root of when we organize, we don't organize individually, we organize as a collective. And I say to everybody who wants to get involved, join your local organization or the closest organization that's next to you, because that way it'll be obviously more organized in whatever way possible. If, it's through a vest, it's through a Zoom call, the route, the people. That's why I say it's super important. Go through a rapid response training in a community organization near you. And this will avoid sort of the individual stuff that's happening. And then also it becomes a little bit more powerful because people tend to think of ideas collectively, and it's just powerful, right? Like it's not like one person doing it, it's a collective group, and we've seen that power, and we're going to need that power for when we're under more attack.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you said that too, Anna. I spoke to an organizer friend recently who had a lot of very well-meaning people reaching out saying that they would like to establish their own organizations to help out, and their response was sort of to say that these organizations have existed for a while and they have been doing incredible work, and there is strength in numbers, and instead of trying to reinvent the wheel and establish something new, that so many things exist already, and really good people have figured out a lot of the obstacles and are actively helping people every single day. So we're certainly happy to link to any resources that you want to share that you think might be helpful, whether it's for in-person signups to become trainers, or if you just want to add the links to the donations, we're happy to do all of that. But I think that's a really critical element to this that people are not discussing as much, that the three of us love to talk about politics and issues. We could talk and hear ourselves talk all day. It's our thing. But it was really important to us for this episode in particular to really give the platform and the space to organizers who are doing the work, because this is work that is incredibly impactful, and you should have the space to speak about this. So I'm really grateful that you were with us today. And I think what you're doing is so tremendous, and it's helping so many people, and folks should really, if this is, I don't know what more could be motivating than this moment right now, than to, more motivating to get involved. And I hope that all of our listeners and beyond really take this as an opportunity to engage in a positive, meaningful way.
Yeah. And this is another thing too that we need to demystify, that like organizing and politics don't go together. We're always trying to say that we're not going to get into that, but in reality, like if you don't pay attention to the politics, the organizing gets harder, right? Our organizing ways are going to never be, they're never going to be just impacted by organizing. It has to do with the politics and how things are moving in both parties, right? And there's power, right? There's also power in combining that politics and that organizing together.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that game, like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, but like that's us with politics.
Yes.
Like
if it takes us 6 degrees, we failed. Like we can do it in 2.
That's true.
Yeah.
Every
skill set.
Everything is political. You exist in a human body, that is political. Having grown up as the child of an immigrant and in the immigrant community here in New Jersey, I always felt like the stories that existed about us had nothing to do with what I actually lived and what the actual problems and struggles were for my particular family and my particular community. So I'm going to ask, is there one misconception about immigrant communities right now that is like making your head explode? Is there one that just really like takes a hold of you and you go, how does this thing still have legs?
And there's this thing about migrating that I feel is sort of looked at like it's a bad thing. Like people migrate not just because they're fleeing persecution from gangs. Like the criminality part of migrating has become so embedded in us, and of course it's because also the narrative of the government started like this, right? We're going to get all of the immigrants and they're illegal and they're criminals out of here. So everybody was like, okay, great, they're going to get rid of the bad people, and now they're getting rid of everybody, right? So my mom came to be with her mom because my grandmother had come to this country in 1985, and she was under the amnesty of Ronald Reagan, so she was legalized. And my mom was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go see my mom. I want to go be with her again." And she's not fleeing anything criminal, right? I know a lot of our friends and families who have come here because I want my children to have education, and since we're one of the countries that has the best education, people are thinking,
all the air quotes. Agreed. All the air quotes on that one.
Right. So, so that the criminality narrative really blows my mind, and it makes me feel like we're utilizing the criminal system, which makes a lot of profit off of people, to just say like justify all of this detentions, all of these detention centers, all of the deportations, all of the money making from these corporations who are like, Enterprise, Delta, Home Depot, who are making millions while we're thinking, oh, should we buy milk and eggs, or should we buy just milk this week so that, we can have some money left over for next week? It's just terrible. But
I think you're right. The criminalization, the implication that you're fleeing criminals, and the word criminals sort of sticks with migratory groups, whether they're from Central America, whether they're from Somalia, whether they're from Afghanistan. There are so many immigrant populations within the United States who've all come for different reasons. The thing that I always try to remind people is that there's a tremendous amount of bravery in leaving your home. It is a terrifying decision to have to make. And even like your mom, she was going to come to be with her mother. It's still a brave thing to do, to leave your home, to leave behind everything you know, to leave behind your culture and your community, and arrive in a place where you may not speak the language, but you are willing to work your hardest and enter into this agreement that we all thought we had. I certainly thought we had as Americans, that if you come here and you work hard, you have the same chance of succeeding as anybody else. So I appreciate you reminding us that the criminalization story is one that is a story that is being put forth by a particular administration and a particular set of interests. And hopefully we can remind people that it's actually a really brave and hope-filled thing to emigrate and look for a better life.
And I just want to add, I know we're focusing on this administration, but since you guys love politics, during the Obama and the Biden administration, we still had a lot of deportations.
Thank you so much for being with us today. What is one concrete action you would suggest for people to help get ICE out of their communities and protect their neighbors?
Yes. So one concrete action that you can do is literally stop ICE if you see them. Like you have the right to say, identify yourself, are you ICE, and record. Literally, what we're hoping with all of these recordings is that one of these legislature or elected officials will put out an executive order to investigate and hopefully put some charges on ICE agents who have violated laws in, detaining people unlawfully, of chasing people down, of hurting people because many people have bled during detentions, and that is the number one thing we could do. If you're in an area where you can document, that is what we ask.
It's really helpful. Thank you.
All right. That's our 20-minute limit for the day. As a reminder, our full conversation with Anna is available on YouTube. Until next time, go outside, touch grass, ask ICE to identify themselves, and remember, the group chat is only part of the movement. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.